Common causes of trucking accidents. If you have been injured in a trucking accident, you are likely to discover that the responsibility for the accident is not as easy to determine as you may think. For example, the owner of the truck and the driver may be liable, but this is not always the case, which is why it could pay you to know about a few laws that govern trucking accidents. Understanding a little bit more about who may be responsible could prove beneficial if you decide to file a personal injury claim. Trucking accidents and statistics. The incidences of trucking accidents have increased by as much as 20% over the last 20 years. In fact, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration states that in 2002, almost 5,000 people died in a trucking accident, and 130,000 people sustained injuries. While trucks, particularly large ones, are responsible for just 3% of vehicle accidents, the size of the vehicles can cause a lot more harm than cars. For example, trucking accidents and laws. There are specific laws that govern and regulate the trucking industry. These laws work to ensure that trucking companies, truck drivers, and the owners of the trucks maintain specific standards. The laws also ensure that the owners etc. must work together to determine who was responsible for an accident that has taken place. The U.S. Department of Transportation and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration regulate truck driving. What's more is every single state has its own trucking regulations that have been set out by the state's Department of Transportation. Determining who's responsible. When someone is injured in a truck accident, there are ultimately a number of people who could be responsible. The driver of the truck, the manufacturer of the truck or its tires, the truck's owner, the trucking company or the individual who has leased the truck, the loader or the shipper of the cargo. When it comes to determining who is responsible for the accident, the leasing company along with the haulage company may just argue with each other about whose fault it was. The individual or entity that is found to be at fault will have to pay compensation to the victim. For example, the accident may have been caused by brakes that failed to work, and the trucking company may wish to point this out. However, the manufacturer of the brakes may claim that it was the fault of the company who leased the truck, as the brakes may have been in perfect working order when the vehicle was leased to them. Avoiding liability. Trucking companies have previously avoided liability for accidents by distancing themselves between the vehicle, the driver, and any equipment that the driver is carrying. In the past, the trucking company would get a permit that allows them to use the truck. However, the trucking company would not be the owner of the equipment, truck, or trailer. The company would, in fact, rent everything from the owner or operator. In addition to this, the company would not directly hire the drivers, they would instead employ them as independent contractors that the truck owner uses. The trucking company will then give the owner a placard which states who the trucking company is, along with any permit numbers it has. The placard is attached to the door so people are aware of the details. When this occurs, it is all too often assumed that the truck is owned by the company who is named on the placard. It is also assumed that the individual driving the truck is employed by the same company. When a truck is involved in an accident, the trucking company may be sued. However, it can argue that the driver of the truck is not their employee, and, therefore, they cannot be held liable. They can also argue that they don't own any of the equipment, so they are not responsible for the repair, maintenance, inspection, or operation of the vehicle. The good news is that in recent years federal laws and federal regulations have ended these arguments. Now any company who owns a truck permit is liable for any trucking accident if a truck is displaying a placard that shows their name. This is irrespective of whether the truck driver is an independent contractor or an employee.